Yeah.
You want to like him, but you can't.
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Did you bring me on this show to insult me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't want it with us, man. We straight gangsters over here.
Straight
man.
gangsters. Yeah, good morning. It is a beautiful Monday morning, and you are listening to Scout Team Sports. We are here to bring you the latest and greatest and hottest news in the sporting world. I am one of your greatest hosts, and they call me Loudbeard.
You are the most egotistical, self-deluded person I have ever met.
And that is all true. I even called myself the greatest. And the man on the other microphone, the man, the myth, the patriot, the legend, and he's all American. And that would be...
Yeah, it's your boy Chris America coming to you live this Monday morning, the Monday morning of Thanksgiving week, the Monday morning of rivalry week. There's going to be a lot of hatred this Thanksgiving weekend, as there is every Thanksgiving weekend, Loudbeard. We get together with our families. We talk about how thankful we are. Then we look at our Ohio State cousin or our Michigan cousin. We tell them how much we hate them on Saturday. We look at our FSU cousin or our Florida cousin. We tell them how much we hate each other on Saturday. And then, of course, we look over to the West, over at USF, and we tell those USF folks we hate them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Rivalry week is one of the most exciting weeks in college football. And you get this pass where you can be a total jerk and hate everybody because they're your rivals just for no good reason at all other than your team is playing each other in football. After the big win Saturday night for UCF, immediately after that, I all of a sudden saw stuff on social media say, all right, now that we beat Cincy, USF hate week can start.
Yep.
And it was like immediately. And I know the Michigan and Ohio State rivalry, huge. Those guys will hate each other. The Florida State, I mean, I've even seen people with their Twitter handle saying FSU is trash. It's crazy.
FSU is trash. That is a great Twitter handle. I also saw that Twitter handle tweeting out stuff like FSU fans bring potato salad with raisins to Thanksgiving dinner. I've seen tweets like that.
That is trash. That didn't even make our top draft picks for Thanksgiving sides. Not at all.
No, they would end up in the trash because that's what FSU fans are. They're trash. And then I also put another one that said if they're not bringing that, they're not bringing anything for dinner. They're not bringing any food. They're just bringing Tupperware, just so they can have leftovers to take home.
Yeah, they don't bring anything, but they take it all. They take everything.
Yeah. They're like, hey, where do I set my 5 bags of Tupperware? Where do you want me to be? You want me to put that with the coats?
Yeah. Do you have a Tupperware check next to the coat check?
Yeah. I'm the only one who brought Tupperware. That's weird.
Yeah. Good.
Oh well,
Plenty
more for me to take home.
Yeah. That guy. God,
I hate FSU fans. No, I don't hate FSU fans. But it is FSU hate week. It is rivalry week. But you mentioned that UCF won on Saturday night. Loudbeard, you were down there at game day. You were at the football game. How much pandemonium was there?
Being there on the ground, I would say that this was just one of the craziest experiences I've ever seen in my life. And going there and being there, let's just start with the college game day experience. I got there super early. It was still dark, carrying my posters, my UCF Love posters, and there were so many people. People were camped out the night before, getting there early. It seemed like you couldn't get there early enough. There was just hundreds and hundreds of people there before it even got bright out, and then even once the sun came out, all of a sudden it was thousands and thousands of people. It was absolute pandemonium. And yeah, there was a few Cincinnati fans, a few more than I thought there would be. There was a few, Clemson fans and the Washington State people that carried the flag. Those guys were kind of cool. That was cool and all, but there must have been a bazillion people there for UCF, which is awesome because it was finally the school getting on the national spotlight. And from what I heard, they had to make the pit larger than it normally is. Normally it holds 500 people. They expanded it to 1,500 because they said 500 wasn't going to work. It wasn't enough space. They needed more space. They said it was the most posters and signs at a college game day ever. The most people at a college game day ever. I've heard all of these rumors. I never was able to confirm them, but I believe that UCF showed up on college game day bigger and badder than ever before. When Lee Corso at the end of the show, when he dropped down and the curtain drops down and he is wearing the Nitro outfit, the crowd erupted. I mean, I feel like I have hearing loss from how loud the crowd got. And you know what? After this college game day, after the game, a guy like Kurt Herbstreit comes out and he says, you know what? You guys have something to be proud of. I was impressed by how your fans showed up. I was impressed by how you showed up for game day. So we're making noise on the national scene. Game day was crazy, and that kickoff and that first series for Cincinnati at the Saturday night game, the big marquee spotlight game, UCF for Cincinnati, the noise in the bounce house, the bouncing up and down, the stadium was swaying, visibly swaying. It was the loudest noise I have ever heard in my life. Cincinnati couldn't even get a playoff. They couldn't even get, I mean, they had a false start. They had a delay of game. They didn't even know what they were doing all night long. The quarterback struggled to hear or be able to let his teammates hear him because it was so loud. That was one of the proudest moments ever as a UCF alumni I have ever seen the school come together in such a way to support a team that deserves recognition and deserves the respect that it is now starting to get some.
Yeah, it was very, very awesome to see how big the crowd was and how loud it was on TV. So I can imagine how loud it was. I'm talking both game day and the UCF football game. They estimated around 20,000 people there during game day Loudbeard. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen back or not listen back, but watch back to game day on Sunday. I know you're busy watching the Redskins and NFL pregame shows and stuff like that, but it was a huge crowd for both the stadium and the game day. And this is what you get when you go to a campus that has 68,000 enrolled students. 68,000, Loudbeard. That's a lot of people. And that fan base and that culture and that school and that alumni base just keeps growing bigger and bigger. People make fun of how many people showed up to a spring game. And here you have everybody filling up the stands for a top 25 matchup. 20,000 people showing up for game day. Yeah, we're not going to show up to a football practice, but they'll show up to games that matter, games that are important. I mean, you watch FSU in Florida this weekend, and you look at their crowd sizes. They were missing several thousand seats. Now, Florida kind of has an excuse because they're playing a crappy team like Idaho, and nobody wants to go see that anymore. Listen up, sports people, owners, and college football ADs. If you're going to start treating football like a business, then your fan base is going to treat it like a business, like they would any other business, and they don't go to bad products. And Florida State, on the other hand, they played another top 25 team. I think Boston College was top 25. They should definitely be out now. There were several thousand seats empty. People just don't want to go to a bad team. But they will go to a fun, exciting, electric, fast-paced offense. I mean, just a great team. And UCF, I felt like during the game they had a lot to prove. They knew what this moment was about. They knew that this was the biggest spotlight they've had in a really long time. They had a couple of big spotlights on them last year during the conference championship game and during the USF game, and maybe a little bit during the Peach Bowl game, but not as big as it was last night, Loudbeard. Those three games, I felt like a lot of people watched because they were Nebraska fans just wanting to see their new coach, just wanting to have the hope that they have. Where last night, or not last night, but Saturday night, I felt like it was just an independent, the nation is watching the team that they either love to watch, or love to hate. Either way, a lot of people are watching. I can't wait to see what the final numbers are and the ratings were, but it's got to be up there, man.
Oh yeah, it was a huge turnout for all. I mean, it was great for UCF, but this was good for college football. I mean, this was a marquee matchup, like I had mentioned, but you got to see the ratings, and a lot of people are watching to see UCF lose because right now UCF is getting some hate from these Power 5 teams that are in the top 10. They don't think UCF should be hanging there with them, so they want to see them lose so they don't have to worry about that competition.
Oh, yeah, a lot of Florida fans. I follow a lot of Florida fans as a Florida fan. I follow a lot of Florida fans. I have Florida fans that follow me, and they hate the fact that UCF is just better right now. They can't stand it. I don't get it, Gator fans. Look, we're on our way back up. We will be back on UCF's level someday. Just, appreciate somebody else that's in state. At least it's not FSU. At least it's not Miami. Give UCF a little bit of love. It'll be okay. We'll be back on that level. And I remember watching Twitter on Saturday and how many people were complaining about Franks missing pass after pass after pass. And I told one Gator analyst, I was like, look, man, you would trade 5 Gator players just to have Mackenzie Milton on our team. If not for anything, that kid right there, he's the one that deserves a shot in the playoffs. He's the one that the country would love to see on the big stage. And just let's see him work against these other Power 5 defenses. Let's see how he does against Oklahoma. Let's see how he does against Notre Dame. And yes, call me crazy, I want to see how he does against Alabama's defense. And I think he could be very productive. This kid made so many good throws, and they would have had so many more yards and so many points if it wasn't for 3 drop passes. A bunch of big, wide-open balls just thrown perfectly right in the numbers, and guys just dropped the ball. But they still ran up the score. Not ran up the score, but they still run up 38 points against what they said was a top 30 defense, a great front 7 of Cincinnati. And they looked like that at the first drive, maybe the first couple of drives, but then once Mackenzie Milton completed his first pass and got his legs underneath him, got warmed up, it was all downhill from there.
Oh, absolutely. And you could see the nerves in the first quarter. The big fumble touchdown that they give up on the first offensive snap. That was kind of rough. And then he was a little bit off on his passes just in the first quarter. You could almost sense that this was just a big game for this team, and they knew how important it was. Once they settled in, the offense was unstoppable. And yes, Cincinnati had not let up an opponent to score 30 points the entire season. So this was a matchup, and I think we talked about this quite a bit on Friday, about how this was important for both teams. Is that defense legit for Cincinnati, or is the offense legit for UCF? Well, the answer is yes on both accounts, but the UCF offense, this is an unstoppable offense. They have 3 or 4 running backs that are just lightning fast, and these guys can just score from any place on the field. They're great receiving out of the backfield, and Mackenzie Milton spreads the ball around, and he gets it to these guys, and it's unbelievable how fast that they can score. And you just blink an eye, and all of a sudden they'll march down the field and get a touchdown in a matter of seconds. And they move the ball, they snap it so quick. It's a fun offense to watch. It's a fun atmosphere, and I'm just glad that I was able to be a part of it this past weekend. And I'm glad to see that UCF's getting some love. Just throwing this out there. We hate on ESPN quite a bit. I call it the sports turd, but ESPN this week comes out with their power rankings for college football, and UCF's ranked number 5 in the power rankings, behind the top 4 teams in the CFP rankings. So in the ESPN power ranking, UCF's at number 5. Man, I don't know if I would have ever seen that in my lifetime if you would have asked me that 2 years ago. This is an unbelievable place to be.
Yeah, I definitely felt like the narrative has changed, at least from what I'm seeing on Twitter and through different, media outlets on UCF. It's now changed from a whole lot of people just giving that same boring narrative of your schedule, blah, 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 blah. You don't belong. You don't have the talent. You don't have the NFL players getting drafted. All that same garbage. To now it's like, hey, why not UCF? Why not give them a chance? That's all they want. They just want a chance. And just a lot of more positive takes on UCF now that I'm seeing. The whole message has changed. And you were right. It was big for college football. The other, I don't know if you felt this way. Maybe I'm just being an Orlando native homer. I felt like the entire college football world focused just on that UCF game. Yes, a lot of that had to do with the fact that the SEC was playing Cupcake Weekend this week, and there weren't any big games there. But even the Big 12, they had some big upsets, like West Virginia getting upset. You had some big-time matchups for the Big 12 where a lot of these games were deciding their conference championship game and who was going to go and who was going to be eliminated. And nobody was talking about that, really. Nobody really talked about West Virginia getting upset or Oklahoma, playing against Kansas, even though that's a bad team, but how good of a game Kyler Murray had. And I just felt like nobody was talking about anything the entire day except for this UCF football game.
I'd have to 100% agree. Now, we do have a tweet coming in at Scout Team Radio. If you ever want to get social with us, we read tweets live on the air or if you hit us up at Scout Team Radio on Twitter. Right now, Memphis Spence is chiming in. Oklahoma and UCF are about the same this year. Same type of offense and defense. Yes, Memphis Spence, I would agree with you, except that defense showed up Saturday night, and the UCF defense, I think, has a little bit more in it than Oklahoma. How many points did Oklahoma let up to a Kansas team? Was it
40?
40? No, that's not happening. UCF has had some bad quarters and bad halves on defense. Yeah, everybody points out that Temple game where we let up a ton of yards to Temple. I'm telling you right now, this defense is coming around. I've seen improvement each and every game, and Saturday night, this defense actually showed up and played, to me, a better game than the offense. When you looked at the scoreboard, 13 points, 6 of them were from an offensive fumble that led to a touchdown. So that defense only let up 1 touchdown, and it was almost considered a garbage time touchdown. That was late in the third quarter. So, in my opinion, this defense stepped up on the national stage more so than I have seen Oklahoma's defense. Oklahoma has let up a ton of points this year. So, yes, the offense, I would say, is similar. I would give the defense on UCF an actual little bit of a notch higher than what Oklahoma's been able to perform. And Randy Shannon, as the defensive coordinator for UCF, this guy has made so many great halftime adjustments. I don't know if he's great at giving speeches or just doing the right thing and making this team turn around. They have played better in the second half of most of these games, and I like the comparison. I think it's a fair comparison, but I don't know. I'm thinking that the UCF defense, after what I saw Saturday night and the improvement I've seen over the year, I think hands down they're a better defense than Oklahoma. But again, I am a UCF alum, so I am going to be biased and I'm not going to deny it. Right, Chris America?
Right. But
No.
I think that's where I said that UCF had a lot to prove. I think that defense knew. They knew that they were the unit taking a lot of the criticism. They were the unit that people were using to say, oh, look, UCF's defense is not good enough to get UCF into the college football playoff. And I think they challenged themselves. I think Randy Shannon challenged them, and they decided to show out for an entire game now. There's been several games where they gave up a lot of points. They'd go into the halftime locker room, they'd make their adjustments, come back out, and then they shut down Memphis. They shut down Temple. They shut down a lot of other different teams in the second half, and that's what you like to see. But this time, they put together a complete game, and like you mentioned, they only allowed 1 offensive touchdown. That score would have been, whatever to 0 throughout the entire game if it wasn't for that blindsided tackle that resulted in a fumble for a touchdown. Otherwise, their offense really couldn't do anything. Their running back, I think his name was Warren, came in with highly touted, one of the best running backs in the country, a bruiser, a grinder, and he had a few good plays. He was the grinder, but UCF more times than not shut him down. They shut down the other running backs, and most of the rushing yards came from their quarterback not being able to find any receivers open and just scrambling out of the pocket and getting downfield because they're running man coverage and everything. But Loudbeard, we have been talking 20 minutes about UCF. There's so much other things to cover. I know we love UCF. I know we are big into Orlando sports. What else happened this weekend, man? Like it's really hard to talk about any other college football games because nothing else really happened except for that West Virginia team we talked about getting upset.
Yeah, I mean, the big West Virginia upset, West Virginia they go where Will Grier will take them. But when you look at the rest of that team, they've got some flaws. So I'm not super surprised at this. So, West Virginia taking the loss, I mean, that's good for me as a UCF fan because that's another team in the top 10 that's going to probably fall out as we see these rankings come out Tuesday night. But I don't know, man. To me, there was a couple other games that I just want to highlight real quick. I know we've got a ton of stuff to cover, but Ohio State versus Maryland. This game was a fun game to watch, and Maryland was the better team on the field. Maryland should have won that game, and I don't know about you, but the way that Urban Meyer looks on the sidelines, I can't even stand looking at him. I mean, he looks like every time his team lets up a first down, he looks like he's like a kid that lost his toy at Christmas that was taken by his older sibling. He just gets so upset every play, and he's about ready to have a breakdown. This guy, he can't take much more. He's about ready to crack, and to me, as a coach, you have to be a little bit more stoic than what he is. I like the emotions that some coaches bring, but it needs to be more of that, yeah, we're gonna get them excited when you have a good play, not the every time there's a tackle for loss against your team, he looks like he's about ready to have just a depressive moment, and he needs therapy or something. I mean, this guy is just losing it on the sideline, and Maryland was the better team. Matt Canada was the better coach to me, but in the end, the team that wins is the team that wins, and Ohio State in overtime with the victory. I felt Maryland, they could have done a little bit more there at the end to win it. I do like the call to go for the 2-point conversion for the win. I wish they would have converted. I wish I don't know.
I mean, the quarterback just missed the throw. That's all there
that's
was to it. I mean, the guy was open. The play was executed to perfection as far as, running the route, rolling out the right way, the offense or the offensive line picking up their blocks. He just missed the throw. It was just wide to the right, and that happens especially when you're rolling out as a quarterback. That's why a lot of people are impressed with quarterbacks when they're running to their left or to their right and they throw a laser on target, because there's physics involved where if you're moving to the right and you throw the football, that football is going to drift to the right as well because an object in motion tends to stay in motion. So you have to correct that as a quarterback in your throw to make sure that your throw is on target. And this quarterback, unfortunately, that's why he probably plays for Maryland and not teams like, Ohio State or Michigan or Florida, those kinds of things. Well, he might have a spot on Florida because we haven't had a good quarterback in 9 years.
That's kind of a good point. I mean, you did have Will Grier, so you did have one good quarterback.
We did have Will Grier at one point, and then Coach McElweener decided that he didn't want to promise him a starting job when he came back from his faulty drug test. But that's another story for another day, Loudbeard. Were there any other college football games that stuck out to you? We've talked ad nauseum about schedules. This was a terrible weekend for college football, but you think there's other games to talk about?
Yeah, there is. We're going to go quickly because I know we don't want to spend all of our time. Notre Dame with the big win over Syracuse. Notre Dame with the big win over Syracuse, 36-3. I thought Syracuse got kind of propped up a little too quickly. They were a good team, but not a great team. And, they jumped up the rankings. I think this was to help build up the ACC because the ACC is really having a down year. I kind of feel like that with Boston College. Boston College is also trying to get bumped up. Oh, we're going to rank Boston College. Boston College goes out, and they get beat by Florida State. Florida State now with a 22-21 victory over Boston College. Again, the ACC, awful conference, but they get the big win, and they're keeping their hopes alive for this big possible bowl streak that they want to keep going. So now this game next week against Florida means a little bit more because they need that win to keep their bowl streak alive. So, Chris America, your Florida Gators are going into rivalry week with not only a huge rival, but that rival is now a little bit more motivated to get a big victory so that they can get into a bowl game this year. So, I don't know. What do you think? You think they're going to show up?
I was actually really glad they beat Boston College so we can set them up for disappointment. I keep talking about Twitter like I live there. Sometimes I do. I actually wasn't on there that much this weekend, but the times that I was on there, I saw a lot of FSU fans who were just so overconfident with their win against Boston College, and I love it. That's what I want. And we have Florida State players already saying they're guaranteeing wins against Florida. These are the things I love to hear before a Florida State game, especially when Florida is going to go in favored. I don't like my team thinking that they can just walk all over somebody. I don't want my team thinking that, oh, it's just a cupcake game. Let's just take the day off and we'll still win. No, I want them extra motivated as well. I want them to know that Florida State is extra motivated. I want them to know that Florida State fans now think that they're the next best thing since sliced bread because they beat a Boston College team that, just like Syracuse, was propped up so that way they could give Clemson a good resume. That's all that they're there for. Syracuse and Boston College are not top teams. They're just not. They're teams that play in a crappy conference and padded their schedule or their rankings, or sorry, their record with a lot of wins against a bunch of nobodies. And I'm excited for it, Loudbeard. I'm excited to win. And we got another tweet from Memphis Spence. He says that Jerry Palm of CBS Sports predicting UCF versus Florida if they win out. Who wins that game? I think out of all of the teams, and I'm not saying this because I'm a homer, Loudbeard, but I think out of all of the teams that UCF would not want to face would be a Florida team that can match their team speed. That is the one advantage I think that UCF has over about 95% of the country. And you heard Kirk Herbstreit talk about it a lot during this game this past weekend, was UCF's team speed. There's SEC speed, and then there's Florida speed, which is about 2 steps faster than SEC speed and about 5 to 10 steps faster than the rest of the country. I don't care what anybody says. And I'm not talking about Florida Gator speed. I'm talking about the state of Florida, the Florida athlete speed is just faster. And I think a team like Florida, their defense can match the speed of UCF offense. It would be a fun matchup, but I still think McKenzie Milton makes the difference between him and
Franks.
Now, the coaching matchup, I would have to give it to Mullen just based on Mullen has been a coach for 9 years, and he's been there before. He's been in big games like this before. And Josh Heupel, we're still learning who Josh Heupel is as a coach. And I've said this before, we might not know who Josh Heupel is for another 2 seasons because he just has a team that anybody could walk in and say, hey, go run this play, and they'll run it to perfection. That's how well-oiled this UCF machine is.
I know. I'm with you, man. UCF, they would take the win. And not to say anything about the Florida Gators, you guys have had a great season. You're a big Florida Gators fan, and you have had an amazing season. It's good to see that you finally feel like turned the corner, got the right coach, starting to get some of the right personnel in there. Probably still need that quarterback, but UCF, to me, would still take that victory. And, okay, so we're talking about coaches. I don't want to get off of this Florida UCF thing because who knows where these bowl games are going to end up going. But real quick, Kansas makes the decision to bring in Les Miles. You love it or you hate it there, Chris America?
I love it for Kansas. I hate it for Les. I wanted to see Les Miles go to – honestly, I wanted UCF to hire Les Miles when they were looking for a coach. I wanted to see him go to like a Charlie Strong did to USF. Go to one of these like right there brands, these smaller brands that are still right there on the cusp of being good, that Les Miles could just have a lot of fun making them a good team, going into Power 5 teams and just beating them and putting eggs on their faces as they leave their stadiums with wins. But he's going to have a hard time winning at Kansas, just like every single head coach at Kansas football has had a hard time doing. And I don't know what he's thinking. I think he's biting off way more than he can chew. And right now his record, Loudbeard, stands at, I think, yes, it stands at 141-55. And I've been asking people who talk about this. I asked Memphis Spence this on Twitter. I asked another sports analyst on Twitter. And now I'm going to ask you as a sports analyst, Loudbeard. He's 141-55. Which will Les Miles get to first? 160 wins or 80 losses?
160 wins.
You think
Hands
he'll get
down.
19 wins before he loses 25 games?
Yep, I do.
I don't know.
I mean, if he's going 500, he's got it. So, yeah, I do.
Yeah, he's got the advantage, but
Yep.
it's hard to go 500 in Kansas, man. It really is. I think they've gone above 500 maybe twice in the last 2 decades.
That's all right. Les Miles is there to turn that program around. So we've been college footballing it out, and we've been getting interactive on Twitter. We have another tweet coming in, and we're going a little bit more pro style when we get back after the break.
Yes,
David Green, a good listener of the show. David, we appreciate you listening. He tweets at us, hey, Scout Team Radio, you got Condoleezza Rice, and you could spend about 20 minutes talking about this Texans-Washington Redskins game. Yes, I am a big Redskins fan. We are going to talk NFL. He's a big Texans fan.
Yeah.
He wants to hear how my Redskins take the big loss. After the break,
yes,
we will
Loudbeard.
talk about some NFL.
Yes, Loudbeard. The nation is calling once again on Condoleezza Rice and her expertise. Find out which nation that is.
When I'm working hard, I build up a thirst for sports. That's when I grab a cold 12-ounce sports radio. 12-ounce sports radio. Quench your sports thirst.
Oh, guess who it is? Did you know the station had a janitor? Oh, yeah, the Jefe, otherwise known as Beck. And it's Beck's Work Week in Review live on 12-ounce sports radio every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch interviews, special guests, and the recap of the week's news and headlines and box scores and results. It's Beck's Work Week in Review live on 12-ounce sports radio.
Scout Team listeners and friends of the show, I've got something special for you. It looks like 12-ounce sports radio has done it again. We have partnered with Rally House. You just go to the website 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner on the right side of the page, and it will take you directly to Rally House. Rally House has some of the greatest, most unique sports items for that diehard fan, casual fan, and anybody and everybody out there that is special in your life. So go ahead and check it out. Once again, go to that website, 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner to the right of the page, and you will get taken to the best sports merchandise website on all of the interweb. Do you own a small business? Are you looking for solutions to all of your communications, problems, and challenges that you have? Check out Ring Central. Give them a call. They have partnered with 12ouncesportsradio.com to give you the best rates on all of your business and office solutions for communication. Give them a call today. We have a dedicated line for all of the 12-ounce sports radio listeners. It is 1-877-779-3860. You will get a representative on the phone who will help you with all of your small business communications needs. Once again, give them a call today, 1-877-779-3860. Yeah, welcome back. You are listening on this beautiful Monday morning to the Scout Team. We're bringing it hot with all the latest and greatest sporting news here with Scout Team Sports. He's Chris America. I'm Loudbeard. We love being on the airwaves each and every weekday morning, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. and again at 11 a.m., except maybe when there's a holiday. We will not be here Turkey Day or the day after. But that's okay because we are here basically every other weekday morning, 6 a.m. and again at 11 a.m. on 12-ounce sports radio. If you do not get a chance to listen to the live show, you can always go back and check out the podcast. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and on our website, Scout Team Radio. And lastly, we do like to get social. Make sure you tweet at us during the live show. We will read your tweets on air. We will discuss your topics, and it is a great time. So make sure you do that. We also are available at Scout Team Radio on Facebook and Instagram. So Chris America, you teased it before the break. Condoleezza Rice, is she here to make America great again?
That's not the nation I was talking about. No, it's not the...
No, it's not that nation, huh? Is it Russia? I know you have ties to Russia. You're a spy, and sometimes you like to drink vodka. So, Chris America, a.k.a. Boris America, what do you think it's Russia that's the nation that she is going to be standing for?
No, it's not that nation either. She's too proud of an American to want to lead that nation. It is also not the Nation of Domination, which was one of the greatest wrestling factions of all time. I believe The Rock was in the Nation of Domination. Farouk. It was a good faction in wrestling, but alas, no, she's not a part of that nation, Loudbeard. No, she's a part of.
Well, what nation is it? What
she's
nation
a part
is
of
it? Come on, tell me. What is it?
I'm getting to it. She's part of.
I can't even let you talk.
I know.
Because
she's getting to it.
The anticipation is killing me.
It's too much.
Which
You're
one
on the
is
edge
it?
of your
Which
seat.
one is it?
It's the Proud Nation, the nation of one of the biggest, largest, loudest, most dejected fan bases in all of sports. It is Browns Nation, my friends. Yes, Browns Nation might be led soon enough by Condoleezza Rice as their head football coach, not as a GM, not as a president of operations, but nay, as a head football coach. Loudbeard, have you done a lot of extensive research on Condoleezza Rice's college or NFL or high school or even Canadian football coaching career?
I have. It took me about 3 seconds, and then I was complete. I went through everything that she had ever coached, and I said, okay, this is good. This is a good resume. There's no bad games on there. There's no poor decisions. There's nothing. There's just nothing bad.
She's never gone for two in a football game like Ron Rivera did and miss it.
No,
when he could have had a chance to tie. He's never done that. He's never gone 14 or 17 years without a playoff win like the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, no, Condoleezza Rice has never done that. I agree.
Like Garrett's gone 10 years now without a playoff win, I think. Let's see. What else? What other bad coaching decisions have there? Oh, yes, he's never taken a first overall quarterback and played rotating quarterbacks with him and Larry Fitzgerald, or not Larry Fitzpatrick, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah, he's never had he's never had a carousel of quarterbacking between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jameis Winston, or has never had that.
What about drafting a kicker in the second round from Florida State and then having...
No, she's never drafted a kicker in the second round, so she's got a lot going for her.
Yes, these are all positive things. I like it. As we digress.
She's never had a running back like Marshawn Lynch, known as beast mode, on the 1 yard line and decide to pass it, which gets intercepted by the New England Patriots during the Super Bowl. She's never done that.
Yeah, that's an underrated call.
Totally underrated. So Browns fans, you should feel good because there's a lot of not things that Condoleezza Rice has done. A lot of negative not things. She's done a lot of not things.
Hey, real quick, did you see this tweet that just came hot off the presses from Memphis Spence? Since this is a short week, we are not going to have our fantasy draft on Friday. Wednesday being our last show of the week, I think we should pop in a fantasy draft on Wednesday, and we have a great idea coming at us hot from Memphis Spence. Top 10 U.S. political figures as football coaches.
Oh, I'm glad because I get the number one pick, and obviously it has to be Ronald Reagan, right?
Yeah.
He acted as a coach in a movie about Notre Dame. He was the one, I think he's the one that said, win one for the Gipper. I could be wrong about that, but I do know he played a coach in a movie, or was he a quarterback? I don't know. Either way, I pick Ronald Reagan.
Okay, that's a good one. Now, David Green, at meangreen_42 is hitting us up. He heard that Condoleezza might have helped Jim Harbaugh get hired at Stanford So she does have some street cred. It's an unconfirmed source, but he did hear it on the streets that Condoleezza Rice may have been the deciding factor to help get Jim Harbaugh over to Stanford. Wow, she's got quite the resume.
Yeah. Yes, she does. Do you think this Browns move is... What is going on? Is this like Haslam didn't eat his Snickers, and so he's not you when he's hungry? Or he has eaten his Snickers, and this is exactly who Haslam is, the guy that makes the wrong move every single time.
This was one of those situations where I saw a story come out later, and like the GM was like, we've never once said this. This didn't happen. I don't know what's going on. But usually when a story like this breaks, there is a legitimate source involved with it. And this could be, this is a Browns move, man. This is so Browns. This is like, we just want to be like the craziest franchise in the world of franchises. Let's just throw stuff out there. Let's just interview her. Why not? Let's see what happens. It can't be any worse than Hugh Jackson, right? Like they've basically said, we could hire a political figure that has zero football coaching experience, and she would not be as bad as Hugh Jackson, is basically what the Browns are saying right now.
Yeah, and I'm kind of rooting that this happens. I want to see the show, man. I want to see the dumpster fire. I know Cleveland, you guys are tired of this, but no other team is considering this. You're our only hope of getting this done.
There's no way that this happens, though. There's just no way.
There is no way. But
absolutely zero
But if there
chance.
is a way, Loudbeard, this is the only way. This is the only way this happens. The only other team that I can think of that does this is Florida State.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would also be one of those situations where they say, well, it can't be any worse than Slick Willie T, so let's go to Condoleezza Rice. Give her a shot. She's at least an intelligent woman who can make good decisions. So at that very base, not football decisions, just an intelligent woman that can make good decisions, just with that understanding, we already know that she could probably be better than maybe the last 5 Cleveland Browns coaches.
And Willie Taggart.
And Willie Taggart, yes. We have to throw that part in there.
Just so you know, Loudbeard, FSU fans, they like to talk politics during Thanksgiving dinner. Just throwing that out there. Just a little tidbit of information about FSU fans. Since we're talking about politics and
fans.
Since we're talking about politics and sports. So Loudbeard, 33 years ago.
Oh, go ahead.
33 years ago not today, but yesterday. I think it was 33.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
I know where you're going with this.
It was the anniversary of the Joe Theismann injury.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Theismann went down, contorted his leg on the 40-yard line, and to the day, 33 years later, your top 5 quarterback, Alex Smith, on the 40-yard line, has his leg contorted, injured, carted off. Loudbeard, what is the prognosis of your top 5 quarterback?
It is not good. He breaks 2 bones, major bones. He has to go into emergency surgery immediately after the game. They take him right away. I mean, obviously his season this year is gone. He's done. He's done for the year. We just want to make sure that he gets back healthy. I hope that I see him back on the field next year. But honestly, at this point, on a bad break like that, you can't rush that back. I mean, a guy like Paul George, who had a similar injury where it was really gruesome, you look at him, and it took a couple years for him to get back in the flow. So, honestly, Alex Smith's getting back on the field next year, to me, is in question because of the severity of this injury. Now, I did not get a chance to follow up with any of my sources to see how the recovery is going. The surgery was just yesterday, so we're going to get some reports here in the near future of how Alex Smith is doing. But, I just want to say that I hope he recovers, and whether he plays football again or not, I mean, he's at an age where if it takes a couple years to recover, I mean, he might be 36 years old before he's back out on the field, 37, and at that point, he may want to retire if the recovery does not go well. I'm hoping to see him back. With modern technology and modern advances in medicine, there's no reason why he cannot be back on the field again. But again, everybody's body is different. Everybody recovers differently. You never know how that recovery process is going to go. But I just hope him the best. I hope he recovers well and everything works out for Alex Smith in the end. And that's just not on the football world, just him personally. He seems like a great guy. He's always been kind of a stand-up guy wherever he goes for the National Football League. So I wish him the best coming back. But going to the football side of it, the Redskins now have to move on with Colt McCoy. And I'm not necessarily upset about this. I'd love to see what Colt McCoy has. He's had several years, 8 years, I don't even know when he was drafted nowadays, to really mature and get kind of that tutelage behind Alex Smith and behind numerous quarterbacks before him. I think he could come out and really surprise some people. He almost brings them back for a comeback win yesterday. 63-yard field goal misses at the very end of that game. Otherwise, if that field goal goes in, we're talking a completely different story. But the Redskins lose to the Texans. And give the Texans credit. The Texans are a great team. The Deshaun Watson to DeAndre Hopkins connection is like unstoppable. So the Texans earned that victory. It's a 2-point victory for the Texans. And the Texans, 7 games in a row after starting 0-3. Phenomenal start to the season. Finish to the season after starting 0-3 for the Texans. And the Redskins, they lose a game on the Cowboys. And now I'm nervous because this Thanksgiving game against the Cowboys means so much for this team. Let's see how this moves forward. I don't know. Without Alex Smith, it's kind of a little bit of a wild card to see how the Redskins season plays out.
Yeah, it's funny because the Redskins, I don't know when they picked up Colt McCoy, but it feels like it's been nearly a decade that they've picked up Colt McCoy. And you forget that Colt McCoy is on the Redskins. You forget that Colt McCoy is even still on an NFL roster. And every so often, maybe once every other year, he'll either go in garbage time or he'll go in because of a banged-up quarterback injury. And you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's right. Colt McCoy is a thing. I forgot that he's been just stowed away on the Redskins ever since he's been in the NFL. I don't know if he was on a team before that. I've only known him to be on the Redskins. And he always comes in. I know, what was it, like 5 or 6 years ago on Monday Night Football, or was it Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, I believe it was, he came in and led them to a victory. And it was one of those moments where, again, you were like, oh, yeah, I forgot about Colt McCoy, the Heisman candidate for the Texas Longhorns. And he just came up 10 yards short of
that's all it was. Yep.
Leading his team back, because that's about how far the field goal was short. And Loudbeard, did you like the call to kick the 63-yard field goal there, or do you wish they would have run one other play to try to get closer? I mean, I know there was like 8 seconds left, so there was time to run a fast out route, but if you take the sack, that's it. That's game over.
Yeah, and then if it's game over, everybody's like, oh, why didn't they just kick it? They should have given their kicker a shot.
A chance, yeah.
Give him a chance. That's one of those, it could go either way. I'm going to give that a coin flip. Yeah, it would have been nice to get a couple extra yards. That would have given Hopkins a little bit more breathing room there, but it was too long of a field goal. It just came up a little bit short. We're just going to move forward. We're moving on to the Cowboys, and that's how we're going to have to move on, because whether that was the right call or not, it ended up being the wrong call, and they ended up not getting that field goal. Man, it was a big week for game-winning field goals in the NFL, too.
Yeah.
A lot of close games. A lot of them at the end.
The most surprising thing coming in the middle of November, if I told you at the beginning of October that the race for the NFC East would come between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins, you would have said I was crazy. You would have said, dude, come on. But that's what it's come down to. The Eagles take an embarrassing lump on the head. They went down to New Orleans, and Loudbeard, I don't think the Eagles make the playoffs.
No, I don't think so either.
I really don't.
Wow, they looked awful. They looked awful.
We keep saying week in and week out, like, oh, they'll get it turned around. They'll get it turned, because they're Super Bowl champs. They're the defending champs. And they just, I don't know what's going on with the Eagles. I haven't watched enough of their games to give you any sort of analysis, Loudbeard, but all I know is they're in a lot of trouble. And I feel like that was an elimination game for them. And it's going to take a lot for them to recover.
Well, Carson Wentz had like a historically bad game. He could get nothing going. And obviously the Saints offense is just unstoppable. Well-oiled machine. Drew Brees and Michael Thomas connection is unstoppable. Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, the 1-2 punch at running back. Just this team, they're not going to be stopped offensively. You've got to be able to put points up on the board against them. And when Carson Wentz, He's like posted like a 2.8 QBR, I think, something ridiculously low. He just has one of these historically bad games. He almost looked like Mark Sanchez out there. That's how bad he looked. And by the way, side note, Redskins working out Mark Sanchez to fill in the backup quarterback role this week. Just keep that in mind.
That's not a
Mark
good sign.
Sanchez.
That's not a good sign. That is not the report you want to hear. That's bad news on top of bad news, Loudbeard. That's
okay,
like,
do you want to know who else
we
is
found that
trying
you have
out?
a broken leg, plus you have cancer. Like, that's
Yes.
what that kind of news is. Like, and I don't want to make light of cancer patients, but that's just kind of what it's like, man.
You know who else is trying out? EJ Manuel. Even better, right? TJ Yates, EJ Manuel, and Mark Sanchez
Do
are
you know
all
what that
being
does?
brought in for
Do you know what that
the
does,
backup
Loudbeard?
quarterback role.
And I don't mean to bring it up, and I'll just make this comment. All that does is make Colin Kaepernick's lawyers that much stronger for their case.
There was a Sports Illustrated article out there that said, "Oh, now Washington has the opportunity to pick up Colin Kaepernick," and then, like in parentheses, it said, "But they probably won't." Colin Kaepernick, I don't even know at this point. Is he staying in shape? Is he trying to be back on the field? I mean, 2-3 years ago, yes.
I will take
don't
Colin
know.
Kaepernick, 30 pounds heavier, having done nothing but eating bonbons and watching the Maury show, than take the Sanchez. Then take EJ Manuel. That's how bad those quarterbacks are.
I'm guessing Sanchez wins out against TJ Yates and EJ Manuel, so we'll go into Sanchez. All of a sudden, I'm starting to like him a little bit more and more as he gets on the Redskins.
He's suddenly becoming a top 5 quarterback.
I mean, I've completely gone amnesia on the butt fumble right now. I don't even know what that means anymore.
Don't even know what that means. So Colt McCoy just became a top 5 quarterback, and Mark Sanchez became a top 5 backup quarterback.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Ladbeard, you mentioned a lot of game-winning field goals. Unfortunately, Graham Gano, I don't know what is his deal this season. He's on a roller coaster ride for my Carolina Panthers. He made the amazing 63-yard field goal, just crushed it. And then yesterday, he couldn't make shorter field goals. He couldn't make extra points. And that caused Ron Rivera to go for 2 with less than a minute or right at a minute to go in the game to tie with the Lions. Instead, he goes for 2, and they run a crappy play. Cam Newton can't connect, and we lose by 1 to the Lions.
So this was a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the right move, going for 2 at that point in the game?
I always say go for the win, but in that instance, I felt like you could have gone for 2. I feel like you could have. I think not go for 2. You could have gone for the 1, take it into overtime. Graham Gano's missed a couple of that day, but sometimes you got to play, I don't know, man. Like you said, we never like to criticize, go for 2. It just didn't feel like the right situation, the right scenario.
Yeah, I agree with you. It did. It kind of had a weird feel to it. Wow, I can't believe I looked down at the time. We were having way too much fun. I was going to talk NBA today, but there's no time for that.
No, bump the NBA.
Other field goal winning games I do want to mention real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cowboys win on a final play field goal to take out the Falcons 22-19. I don't like seeing the Cowboys win again. They're a conference opponent here for the Redskins, but hey, you know what? They're fighting, man. I like what they're doing. They're scratching, they're kicking, they're pulling hair, they're doing whatever they can to win these games, and they are getting themselves back in it. And the red-hot Chargers' 6-game winning streak brought to an end with a last-minute field goal by the Broncos in an upset. Wow. I mean, the kicker matters. It matters more than ever before, and you're seeing a lot of games in the NFL coming down to last-minute field goals and last-minute heroics. The Steelers versus Jags, the Jags defense completely have any way they want with Ben Roethlisberger, get 3 interceptions. They're just killing them, and Ben just waits till the last quarter, fourth quarter, and completely comes back and stomps the Jags. So last-minute heroics, comebacks, last-minute field goals. It was an exciting day in the NFL, and Lamar Jackson had himself a heck of a day too.
Yeah, he did. He had a great start, and man, like you said, we're out of time. The NFL is just that much more exciting than college football. I know we spent 20 minutes on UCF, and that was an exciting part. We'll have to cover these games a lot more extensively tomorrow. We can talk about the NBA, and we can talk about the Monday night game, Loudbeard. I'm excited for this game. I can't wait. It's been marked in my calendar. Put a star next to it. I'm excited to see, the high-flying offense of the Rams go against my boy, Patrick Mahomes. I'll have my Patrick Mahomes T-shirt on tonight. It's going to be awesome.
Well, with that being said, tomorrow we will be back at 6 a.m. on 12 Ounce Sports Radio. Make sure you check it out because we will be discussing how hot Tom Herman's wife looked in an OK Cool Hook'em T-shirt. Loved it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Hook'em. One of the best responses to somebody trolling you of all time.
The
I need to
reverse
start
troll.
doing that from now on. Just be like, okay,
Okay, cool. Hook'em.
Hook'em.